The gavel cracked like a gunshot in the sterile hush of the conference room, shattering the fragile pretense of civility. Austin Harper, the executor intoned, his voice flat as the Midwestern plains where their fortune had been forged, is hereby disinherited from the estate of Elias Harper. Effective immediately. Gasps rippled through the family like aftershocks. But Austin didn't flinch. He just stared at the man who'd raised him, now cold in his casket 2 floors below, wondering if the old bastard had scripted this final fuck you from beyond the grave. Jordan's hand tightened under the table, a silent anchor in the storm, his thumb tracing a desperate circle on Austin's knuckles. But even that couldn't drown out the venom from Aunt Lydia's side of the room. He brought this on himself, parading around with that lifestyle. The words hung like smoke, choking the air, until the lawyer, Jordan himself, though no one here knew it yet, cleared his throat and slid a crisp envelope across the table, his wax seal unbroken, addressed in Elias's trembling hand to my son, who I failed. Austin Harper had always known his father saw him as a disappointment wrapped in khakis and a Wharton MBA, a son who traded boardroom conquests for quiet nights sketching charcoal portraits in the dim glow of a Brooklyn loft. But nothing prepared him for the way Elias's deathbed glare had curdled into this. A multimillion-dollar empire of cornfields and Chicago high-rises doled out like poker chips to cousins and siblings who'd spent their lives kissing the family ring, while Austin, the eldest, got zilch. Zilch for being the one who dared to love a man in a world where Harper men were supposed to chase skirts and mergers with equal ferocity. The conference room in the Loop smelled of old money and fresh betrayal. Leather-bound ledgers stacked like accusations, the Chicago River churning gray outside floor-to-ceiling windows that mocked their fractured reflection. Austin's mother, Evelyn, dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed hanky, her pearls clacking like judgment. Elias was old-fashioned. Darling, she murmured later, in the elevator descending to the lobby where paparazzi lurked like vultures. He just couldn't understand. But Austin heard the subtext. You made him choose between his blood and his bigotry. Jordan Reyes, the firm's junior partner who'd handled the estate pro bono out of some unspoken loyalty, walked a step behind, his tailored suit hugging the lean lines of a body honed by weekend hikes in the Smoky Mountains. At 32, he was the picture of wasp restraint, crisp white shirt, tie loosened just enough to hint at the fire beneath, but his dark eyes, inherited from Mexican grandparents who'd crossed the border with nothing but dreams, burned with a fury Austin could feel across the room. This isn't over, Jordan whispered as they stepped into the November chill, wind whipping off Lake Michigan like a slap. Your father left something for you. I saw it. Austin barked a laugh that tasted like bile. Yeah? A participation trophy for coming out at Thanksgiving? He'd done it 2 years back. Over turkey and tension, the dining room in their Oak Park manse falling silent as a crypt. Elias had pushed back from the table, face purple as the wine he'd spilled, muttering about fixing this phase before storming out to his study. That night, Austin had packed a duffel and crashed on Jordan's couch in Lincoln Park, the two of them nursing cheap bourbon and the kind of tentative kisses that bloomed in the wreckage of shattered expectations. Their story wasn't fireworks and fate. It was the slow burn of 2 lost souls orbiting the same lonely constellation. They'd met 18 months earlier at a charity gala for the Ali Forney Center, the city's lifeline for homeless LGBTQ youth. Austin, there on a whim to escape the Harper holiday card photo op, had been nursing a scotch when Jordan approached. All easy charm and earnest questions about Austin's sketches, portraits of queer kids he'd volunteered to draw, capturing their quiet resilience amid the glitter and grind of Manhattan's underbelly. You see them, Jordan had said, voice low over the jazz quartet's swell. Not the labels. The light. One conversation led to coffee in a Wicker Park cafe, where steam fogged the windows against a freak spring snow. Jordan talked about growing up in Knoxville, Tennessee, where his abuela's tamales were the only warmth in a house shadowed by his father's factory layoffs and his mother's quiet unraveling. Law school at Vanderbilt had been his ticket out, but Chicago's pulse, the L trains rattling like confessions, had hooked him. Austin confessed his own cage, the golden boy heir apparent, groomed for the family agribusiness, but sketching in secret because it let him breathe. "My dad's idea of art is a balance sheet," he'd quipped, and Jordan's laugh had been the first real sound in weeks. By summer, they were stealing weekends in Austin's rented cabin up in Door County, Wisconsin, where Lake Michigan's waves lapped at pebble shores like tentative lovers. Jordan, ever the planner, packed picnics with prosciutto and figs. Austin brought his sketchpad, capturing Jordan's profile against the sunset, jaw set like a cliff, eyes crinkling with that boyish grin that made Austin's chest ache. Their first real night together unfolded under a quilt of stars, bodies tentative at first, then urgent, hands mapping scars neither had named. Jordan's from a high school beating for holding his boyfriend's hand, Austin's from the invisible whip of paternal disapproval. But love in America wasn't just stolen glances. It was paperwork and politics. Jordan, with his JD, from a firm that specialized in estate law, had warned Austin early, "Marry me legally, or at least get your affairs in order. Harpers don't do half measures." Austin had waved it off, too tangled in the romance of it all, the way Jordan's cologne lingered on his pillow, the shared Spotify playlist of Springsteen anthems and Hozier ballads. They were building something real, brick by Midwestern brick, until Elias's cancer diagnosis hit like a freight train. The old man fought it quietly, chemo sessions sandwiched between board meetings, but the treatments stripped him bare body and soul. Austin visited weekly, driving the hour from the city, sitting in that Oak Park study where Elias had once taught him to tie a Windsor knot. "You're my legacy," Elias would rasp, hand trembling on Austin's knee, but the words rang hollow when Austin finally cracked open about Jordan. "There's someone. He's everything." Elias's face had twisted, not in rage, but something worse, revulsion laced with regret. "Fix it, son. Before it's too late." It was too late. Elias revised the will that very week. Jordan later confided, slipping the addendum past Evelyn like a dirty secret. Austin found out through a cousin's drunken text. "Tough break, 'cause Pops finally manned up." The betrayal stung worse than the disinheritance. It was as if Elias had auctioned off their bond for a shot at posthumous sainthood in the eyes of his Bible Belt investors. Now, back in the city, as snow flurried down Wabash Avenue, Austin shrugged off Jordan's arm. "I need space." He hailed a cab to O'Hare, bound for anywhere but here, maybe LA, where the sun didn't judge. Jordan didn't follow, but his text lit up Austin's phone as the plane taxied. The letter. "Read it when you're ready. I love you. Always." Los Angeles hit Austin like a fever dream. Palm trees clawing at smog-choked skies, the Hollywood sign mocking from its hillside perch like a faded tattoo. He crashed at a buddy's sublet in Silver Lake, a one-bedroom with views of the reservoir and the kind of indie film posters that screamed reinvention. Days blurred into auditions for graphic design gigs. His sketches had always been more passion than profession, and nights into dive bars where the gin tasted like forgetfulness. But Jordan's ghost followed. a playlist shared in the cab to LAX, now looping on Austin's battered AirPods. Bruce Springsteen's gravelly plea in Thunder Road, cutting deeper than any knife. 2 weeks in, the call came. Evelyn, voice quavering over the line from her now empty Oak Park manse. Come home, Austin. The reading's tomorrow. Your father. He left instructions. Austin's laugh was hollow, echoing off the stuccoed walls. Instructions? Like how to disown your kid without the lawyers noticing. But beneath the sarcasm, a thread of hope tugged. Foolish. Maybe, but insistent. Elias had been a man of rituals. Sunday roasts, annual fishing trips to the Boundary Waters. Could one envelope rewrite the ending? He flew back red-eye, landing in a dawn that painted the loop in bruised purples. Jordan was waiting curbside in his old Subaru, engine idling like a held breath. No words at first, just Austin sliding into the passenger seat, the scent of Jordan's aftershave a punch to the gut. You look like shit, Jordan said finally, merging into the Dan Ryan snarl. Austin snorted. Pot, kettle. You been sleeping? Jordan's grip whitened on the wheel. Not much. This case, your case, it's personal now. The firm occupied the penthouse of a glass monolith on Michigan Avenue, all chrome and consequence. The conference room was a pressure cooker. Uncle Harlan, red-faced and rum-soaked, barking about family values. Cousin Becca, scrolling TikTok with feigned disinterest. Lydia, her lips pursed like she'd sucked a lemon. Evelyn sat ramrod straight, clutching a rosary that clicked like Morse code. And Jordan, elevated at the head table in his role as associate counsel, his presence a secret weapon Austin hadn't anticipated. The executor, a silver-haired patrician named Hargrove, droned through the legalese, bequests to charities, trusts for the grandkids, the agribusiness empire divvied like a Thanksgiving pie. Then, to Austin Elias Harper, nothing. Per the codicil dated October 15th, the room exhaled collectively, a sigh laced with schadenfreude. Harlan muttered, "About time," and Lydia nodded, her cross necklace glinting like a badge. Austin's vision tunneled, the words blurring into white noise. He felt Jordan's gaze like a lifeline, steady amid the storm. Hargrove cleared his throat again. However, there is a sealed missive from the deceased, to be delivered solely to Mr. Austin Harper in the presence of witnesses. He slid the envelope across the polished walnut, its weight landing like a stone in Austin's palm. The seal cracked under his thumb, the paper inside crisp, Elias's script looping in faded blue ink. My dearest son, if you're reading this, I failed you worse than I feared. The codicil was my cowardice, a desperate bid to appease ghosts, my father's, the board's, the churches that have haunted me since Korea. I cut you out not because I hate who you love, but because I hate the man I've become, one who trades his boy's heart for a hollow legacy. Jordan came to me last month, after your call. He sat in this very study, eyes fierce as a prophet's, and told me truths I'd buried deeper than my sins. Love him, he said, or lose him forever. I chose wrong. But in writing it, know this, the bulk of my shares, 51%, transfer to you upon this letter's reading. Irrevocable. Not as pity, but penance. Live free, Austin. Sketch the world as you see it. Beautiful, broken, boundless. And tell Jordan. Thank you. He is the son I wish I'd been. Your father, Who loves you? Elias. The room fell silent as a grave. Harlan's cigarillo dropped ash onto his lapel. Lydia's mouth gaped like a landed fish. Even Evelyn's rosary stilled. Austin's breath hitched, tears blurring the ink, but he looked up to Jordan, whose eyes shimmered with unshed relief, a small nod confirming he'd been the architect of this quiet revolution. In the aftermath, as signatures scratched and champagne uncorked awkwardly in the firm's lounge, Austin pulled Jordan into a supply closet, the door clicking shut on the chaos. "You went to him?" he whispered, forehead pressed to Jordan's, the scent of toner and cologne a heady mix. Jordan's hands framed Austin's face, thumbs brushing away salt tracks. "Had to. He was dying, Austin. And you're worth fighting for." Their kiss was fierce, a reclaiming, lips bruised, breaths mingling like vows renewed. But as they emerged, hands linked defiantly, Austin felt the weight of eyes. Not just family, but the firm's partners, whispers rippling about that associate and the heir. Freedom came at a cost. Elias's maneuver, clever, if cruel, sparked a shareholder revolt. Harlan, smelling blood, rallied the board against the lifestyle clause, dredging up Austin's coming out as leverage. Tabloids feasted. Harper airs gay gambit. Fortune or folly? Jordan's firm, sensing scandal, sidelined him to special projects, code for purgatory. Nights turned tense. Arguments flaring over takeout pad thai in Jordan's apartment, Jordan pacing, tie discarded, railing against the hypocrisy. Austin sketching furiously, lines jagged as his nerves. "You're letting them win," Jordan snapped one evening, rain lashing the windows like accusations. Austin's charcoal snapped in his fist. "And you're turning into my father, fighting shadows instead of us." The words landed like a slap, Jordan recoiling as if burned. He stormed out, keys jangling, leaving Austin alone with the hum of the fridge and the echo of regret. The fracture widened like a fault line under the city, subtle tremors building to quake. Austin threw himself into the company, commuting to the Iowa headquarters where cornstalks whispered secrets to the wind. Board meetings became battlegrounds. Harlan's bluster about traditional values, countered by Austin's data-driven pitches for sustainable farming, vertical greenhouses, carbon credits that masked his deeper war for legitimacy. Jordan, meanwhile, buried in depositions for pro bono cases, texted sparingly, "Miss you." "Coffee tomorrow?" Austin replied with emojis, hearts masking the hollow in his chest. Reconciliation came haltingly, over burnt diner pancakes at a Melrose Diner knockoff on the south side. Jordan arrived with dog-eared case files, his smile tentative as a truce flag. "I overstepped." "About your dad." Austin stirred sugar into black coffee, watching granules dissolve like doubts. "No. You saved me. But this life is a meat grinder. I don't want you caught in it." Jordan's hand covered his, warm and sure. "Then let's rewrite the rules." Together, they did. In stolen pockets. A weekend in New Orleans. Jazz spilling from Bourbon Street doorways as they danced. Hips swaying to brass bands under wrought iron balconies dripping with ferns. Jordan's laughter peeled back layers of armor, revealing the boy who'd dreamed of civil rights law, not corporate chess. Austin sketched him asleep in their Garden District B&B, sheets tangled around his waist, the curve of his spine a poem in shadow and light. "You're my muse," Austin murmured that night, fingers tracing tattoos, a rainbow flag inked over faded scars. Jordan pulled him close, breath hot against his neck. And you're my home. But betrayal brewed closer to home. Becca, the cousin with the TikTok empire, and a grudge nursed since Austin stole her prom date in high school. A harmless prank. Or so he'd thought. Leaked emails to the board. Forged. Austin suspected. But damning. Suggestions of embezzlement tied to personal indiscretions. The fallout hit like a monsoon. FBI inquiries. Stock dips. Headlines screaming queer heirs, queer dealings. Evelyn called. Voice breaking. Harlan says it's you or the company. Darling. Come clean. Austin confronted her at the manse. The grand foyer echoing with ghosts. Elias's portrait glowering from the mantel. Eyes accusatory. It's a setup, Mom. Becca's playing puppet master. Evelyn's hands twisted her apron. A relic from her pre-Harper days as a schoolteacher. Family protects its own. Austin. Even when it hurts. The implication landed. Choose the empire over the truth. Or lose her too. Jordan uncovered the forgery in a late-night dive through metadata. His laptop screen casting blue hollows under his eyes. Gotcha, he crowed. But triumph soured when Austin confessed Evelyn's ultimatum. She wants me to step down. Say it's a mutual decision to preserve the name. Jordan's face darkened. Storm clouds gathering. And you? What do you want? Austin paced the loft. Floorboards creaking under bare feet. To burn it all. Walk away with you. Start over. But it's Dad's dream. The argument erupted like dry tinder, words flying sharp as shrapnel. Your dad's dream was a cage, Jordan shouted, voice cracking. And you're chaining yourself to it for what? Approval from ghosts. Austin whirled, chest heaving. Easy for you to say. You clawed your way up from nothing. I was born with this noose. Silence stretched, taut as a wire, until Jordan's whisper sliced through. Then cut me loose too. If I'm just another chain. He left for Knoxville that weekend, citing a family wedding, Abuela's 80th, but Austin knew better. The texts dried up, replaced by radio silence that echoed louder than any fight. Alone in the loft, Austin unboxed Elias's effects. Cufflinks engraved with harvest moons, a dog-eared copy of The Grapes of Wrath dog-eared at passages on dignity. Tucked inside, a faded photo of Elias and his army buddy, arms slung casual around shoulders, smiles bright against desert sand. Austin's fingers trembled. Was this the secret the old man had buried? Desperation drove him south. A rental car eating miles through Appalachia's hollers. Banjo strings twanging from porches like taunts. Jordan's family home was a clapboard bungalow on the edge of town. Christmas lights strung year-round in defiant cheer. Abuela Reyes answered the door. Flour-dusted apron hugging her ample frame. Eyes sharpening at the stranger on her stoop. You the one breaking my nieto's heart? She demanded. Spanish lacing her drawl. Austin swallowed. Hoping to fix it. Ma'am. She fed him tamales and truths over kitchen table confessions. Jordan's father, long gone to cancer, had disowned his own brother for being gay. Jordan carried that scar like a badge, fighting estates for the marginalized because someone has to. When Jordan walked in, suit rumpled from the drive back. The air crackled. What the hell? Austin, but Abuela's hand on his arm stilled the storm. Escucha, mijo. Love don't wait for permission. They talked till dawn on the sagging porch swing. Fireflies winking like conspirators. Jordan admitted his fear. I thought you'd choose the Harpers. Again, Austin pulled the photo from his pocket. Elias's secret laid bare. He chose wrong once. I won't. Their reconciliation was slow. Bodies rediscovering rhythms in the guest room's narrow bed. Kisses tasting of mole and mercy. Hands weaving promises into sweat-slicked skin. Back in Chicago, armed with the photo and Jordan's forensic wizardry, they exposed Becca's ploy, digital fingerprints leading straight to her PR firm. Harlan folded like cheap suit, the board voting Austin in as CEO with a 52% mandate, Elias's ghost tipping the scales. But victory tasted bittersweet. Evelyn's absence at the announcement spoke volumes. Her note terse, proud, but pained. Give me time. Winter clamped down on the Midwest like a vice, blizzards burying the city in white drifts that muffled the world's roar. Austin's corner office overlooked the frozen river, a kingdom of glass and steel where he signed off on green initiatives that honored Elias's hidden heart more than any codicil ever could. Jordan, promoted to partner after the scandal broke in his favor. Reyes unravels Harper hoax splashed across the Trib. Split time between estates and advocacy. His days a blur of depositions and dreams deferred. Their life together crystallized in small rituals. Sunday brunches at and Sathers. Cinnamon rolls sticky as stolen kisses. Evenings where Austin sketched while Jordan prepped briefs. Coltrane's saxophone weaving through the loft like smoke. But the idol cracked under pressure's weight. Austin's insomnia returned. Nights pacing with visions of Evelyn's rosary clicks. Jordan threw himself into a class action suit for queer foster kids. Coming home hollow-eyed. Snapping at Austin's corporate blinders. The breaking point came in March, as crocuses pierced the thawing earth like hesitant hopes. A gala at the Art Institute, black tie fundraiser for the center where they'd met, drew Chicago's elite. Tech bros in bespoke, socialites dripping diamonds. Austin, in a velvet blazer that hugged his frame, felt Jordan's pride like a spotlight as they worked the room, hands brushing in coded affection. But Harlan lurked in the shadows, scotch in hand, his toast slurring into a microphone hijack. To family, blood and bone, not alternatives. The room tittered. Polite poison. Austin's blood boiled. He stormed the stage, mic trembling in his grip. To family, he echoed, voice steady as steel. The ones who choose you, fight for you, love you without conditions. Like my partner, Jordan Reyes, who taught me that. Gasps rippled, cameras flashing like lightning. Jordan's face paled from the crowd, a mix of terror and triumph. But as Austin descended, Harlan cornered him in the coat check alcove, breath hot with bourbon. You just tanked the stock, nephew. For a publicity stunt. It was Becca who'd twisted the knife, leaking the speech to influencers, framing it as Harper's Rainbow Rant. Shares plummeted 15%. Analysts howling about distraction leadership. Board whispers turned to ultimatums. Shape up or ship out. Evelyn finally surfaced. Over tea at the Drake, her eyes rimmed red. He's gone, Austin. But you're not. Marry that boy. Make it official or lose the name that raised you. The proposal unfolded unplanned. On a bridge over the Chicago River at twilight, the skyline igniting like a vow. Jordan, mid-rant about injunctions, paused as Austin dropped to one knee, a simple silver band glinting in his palm, engraved with Elias's harvest moon. Marry me. Not for the optics. For us. Jordan's yes was a sob, their embrace fierce against the wind's howl, but doubt lingered like fog. Wedding plans bloomed amid the backlash. A small ceremony at the family cabin in Door County. Wildflowers and whiskey toasts. But 2 nights before, Jordan vanished. Phone dead. Loft empty save for a note. Need air. Back soon. Love. Panic clawed Austin's gut. He drove north through lashing rain, wipers slapping like accusations. The cabin's porch light glowed like a beacon, Jordan silhouetted against the lake's black mirror, bottle in hand. I can't do this, Jordan confessed, voice raw as peeled bark. The suits at the firm, they're congratulating me, but it's code for keep it quiet. And you're a target now. What if I drag you down? Austin's heart fractured. You think I'd trade quiet for you? After everything. But Jordan's eyes, shadowed by moonlight, held a deeper wound. Your mom called. Said you'd be better with someone who fits. I believed her for a second. That's the betrayal. They argued till the storm broke, thunder rumbling like unresolved grief. Austin revealed Evelyn's full plea. Not rejection, but fear. She lost Dad to secrets. Doesn't want the same for us. Dawn found them entwined on the porch. Resolutions forged in exhaustion. We fight together, Jordan murmured, ring slipping onto his finger like a seal. No more solos. The ceremony was magic and mess. Abuela's tamales mingling with Evelyn's awkward apple pie. Harlan conspicuously absent. Becca's RSVP a white flag of apology. Vows exchanged under a willow's drape. Jordan's voice steady. I choose you. In boardrooms and backwoods. Through betrayals and breakthroughs. Austin's choked. You saw me when I was invisible. I'll spend my life making you seen. Honeymoon in Big Sur was salt spray and starlit confessions. Bodies rediscovering in cliffside inns where the Pacific crashed like applause. But reality reeled them back. A letter from the board, demanding Austin's resignation for the good of the shareholders. Jordan, ever the strategist, countered with a countersuit, leveraging Elias's codicil as precedent for protected legacies. The trial loomed like a guillotine, opening arguments in a federal courthouse where history's ghosts, Stonewall, loving whispered from the marble halls. Harlan testified, voice quaking, the boys ruined us, but Jordan's cross burned bright. Or liberated you, Mr. Harper, from a legacy built on lies. The photo of Elias and his lover sealed it, admitted as evidence of familial precedent. Harlan crumbling under its weight. Verdict day dawned brutal, a heat wave smothering the city in haze. The courthouse steps swarmed by reporters hungry for blood or redemption. Austin waited in a side room. Tyascu, Jordan's hand a steady pulse in his. Whatever happens, Jordan said, lips brushing his temple. We rebuild. The gavel fell. In favor of Austin, the board's ouster deemed discriminatory under Illinois' equality statutes. Cheers erupted outside, pride flags waving like victory banners. But inside, Austin felt only the ache of what it had cost. Elias's empire fractured, but freer. Evelyn waited in the lobby, frail in her Chanel suit, a bouquet of lilies trembling in her arms. I was wrong, she whispered, embracing him fiercely, the scent of Chanel no. 5 mingling with tears. Your father. He wrote me too. About forgiving, before it was too late. Harlan followed, hat in hand, mumbling apologies that tasted of surrender. Family's messy, kid. But it's ours. Becca slunk in last, eyes downcast, offering a check for restitution meager, but a start. The company rebranded under Austin's vision, Harper Harvests, a queer-inclusive agritech pioneer. Scholarships for LGBTQ farmers seeded from the settlement. Jordan launched a foundation from the windfall, pro bono estates for the dispossessed, their loft a war room of blueprints and ballads. Nights softened into rhythm. Austen's sketches adorning gallery walls in Pilsen, Jordan's briefs arguing before Scotus shadows. 1 year on, they returned to Door County for their anniversary, the cabin weathered but warm. Fireflies danced as Austen pulled Jordan to the lakeshore, a new envelope in hand, not legal, but handwritten. To my husband, it began, who turned silence into song. Thank you for seeing the man beneath the name. Jordan read it aloud, voice thickening, then drew Austen into the water, waves lapping at their waists. Their love wasn't flawless, no grand gestures sans grit, but it was human, hewn from America's jagged heart. Betrayals mended with ballpoint and bravery, romances rooted in the red clay of compromise. As stars pricked the velvet sky, Jordan whispered against Austen's neck. We made it, Austen smiled, tracing the moon tattoo on Jordan's collarbone. And we'll keep making it. Every damn day, in the quiet that followed, with the lake's murmur as witness, they knew legacy wasn't inherited. It was etched, one defiant line at a time,